This next section is aligned with the instruction rubric 7, engaging students in learning. Level 4, in the clip, students are engaged in learning tasks that develop understandings of mathematical concepts. And so what represents this rubric and this level in this section is giving them questions throughout the lesson to ask them to identify different shapes and different fractions. And when we assign them the Bebot activity, asking them questions that were linked to the presentation to have them focus on prior academic learning and like forcing them to understand the mathematical concept. And if they didn't understand the mathematical concept, we were there to answer any questions that they had, but this is where they were able to demonstrate their knowledge that they got from the presentation and helping them to engage while they're learning.
That's actually decent.
Okay, so who can divide this shape into thirds?
I can.
Good job.
Okay, can someone come up and shade in 1/3? Okay, does anyone know how much of this shape is filled in? Yeah.
1/2.
Good job.
How much of this shape is filled in? 3/4. Okay, geometry is a topic in mathematics that deals with points, lines, shapes, and space. Plane geometry is anything that...
I'm Shannon Van Law. I'm in iTech 2360 Section 4. This was the group presentation that we did on geometry and fractions. So this first part, we met in the edTPA rubrics for elementary mathematics. For planning, rubric 1, planning for mathematical understanding, level 4, plans for instruction.
And 4 right angles. And the opposite sides are equal and also parallel. And when they're parallel, it just means if they keep going on forever, they'll never touch. And this is a circle. A round plane figure with an imaginary continuous line which is always the same distance from the center. And just like a clock.
Okay, so fractions are the next part of the lesson. Fractions are formed when the whole is divided into a certain number of equal parts. So your whole is going to be a shape, in this case a rectangle, and it has to be equal, so you can't divide it there and say that that is 1/2 and that is 1/2 because they're not equal. So after first comes second. Does anyone know what comes after second?
Third.
So it's the same idea with fractions. You start with a whole, you have a 1, divide it in half, and you have a half. And then in 3 parts, you have a third, divided into 4 parts, and you have a fourth.
The number above the line is the numerator, and that tells you how many parts are actually shaded in. The number below the line is the denominator, and that's how many equal parts make the whole. A whole in this case is the circle, is divided equally into 2 parts. One part is a half, and that's the one that's shaded green.
So this circle is divided into 4 parts, and if you shaded one part, what would that be? It would be 1 part. And then if you shade in 3 parts of the circle, your fraction is 3 parts.
And this rectangle is divided into 4, so 4 goes on the bottom with the denominator, and then there's 2 shaded parts, so 2 goes on top, so it's 2 parts. And then this one.
This next section, also in the planning rubric, rubric 4, identifying and supporting language demands. Level 4, candidate identifies vocabulary and/or symbols and additional language demands associated with the language function. Plans include targeted support for use of vocabulary and/or symbols as well as additional language demands. And so this rubric is met, or this level is met when we identify the vocabulary needed, like quadrilateral, and we define the two main words, geometry and fractions, and we talk about the different parts of those, the different symbols involved, the different vocabulary, again, like in geometry, shapes, and quadrilateral, parallel, and then in fractions, numerator and denominator, whole, equal, fourths, halves, and thirds. And so those vocabulary words are identified and then used throughout the lesson.
Bring them?
I
got red.
Yep, this is blue. Blue's in the middle.
Red is right here.
Alright.
All of us, yeah.
Okay. Can you guys choose one person to be like the
Who wants to control?
Who wants to control it?
Alright, so
Sure.
the B-bots, if you look on them, turn them upside down and you should turn them on. Power on. Sound is awesome. Okay. If you look at the B-bot, there are arrows. The forward arrow will make it go forward one square. If you turn it, little swoopy arrows, it'll only turn, it won't go forward. So if you want it to go forward and then turn one and then go forward again.
This fourth section is also in regards to the instruction rubric. Rubric 8, deepening student learning, and level 4, candidate elicits and builds on students' reasoning or problem solving to explicitly portray, extend, or clarify a mathematical concept. So this is kind of tied into the last rubric, in rubric 7, and how throughout the lesson we ask them questions to just kind of build on the learning and just to help them focus more and to repeat everything we're addressing to make it really stick. And then again with the BBOT activities to build on their reasoning and problem solving skills. And the BBOT activities show this because we had 3 instructors per group, and they were monitoring every student's actions, and whenever I asked a question, we would give them, it was kind of like a race to see how fast they could find the answer to the problem and then program the robot to go to the problem. And so 3 different instructors were there to make sure that everyone was understanding what was going on and the mathematical concepts being presented, and making sure that everyone was using the reasoning and problem solving skills to correctly answer the questions, to make sure that everyone got what they needed to out of the presentation.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh no.
Ours
Blue.
Forward 1, oh, and then take left.
No.
No, you said it too, get clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Totally representing that.
And then forward twice. Yeah. Oh, you showed me.
These are me.
Alright, let's start here. Press clear.
Figure it out.
Okay, question 3. What fraction represents what is shaded?
Shaded is everything that's not white. Oh, we got this. Yes!
All right.
Slightly.
We win. Just barely. Oh, I just win. This is nothing new. They won't like us.
We're like, who else has a yellow?
Alright, yay, good job. like yellow group 1. Congratulations. Okay, can you guys all go back to your computer and get on Enmodo?
Oh yeah, I have prizes for the yellow group.
So raise your hand if you're in the yellow group and she'll give you your prize for answering everything
Oh, and she just got her wisdom teeth out. And she.
Do you want something else?
Can I pick a different one? I can't suck.
You can just let it sit there.
I still can't.
Anyone else?
Save it for when you heal.
Okay.
All right. So good job. You guys know your fractions and your shapes. Once you're on Enmodo, there should be the first thing should be a quiz.
And the fifth rubric we used is in line with the assessment rubric 11, analysis of student learning. Level 4 analysis uses specific examples from work samples to demonstrate patterns of student learning consistent with the summary. And so we used Edmodo as the assessment tool to kind of back up the assessments, the informal assessments we used throughout the lesson, like asking questions at the very beginning to test, to kind of like a pre-test to see where they were all at with their understanding of geometry and fractions, and then the BOS activity to help them just to make sure that they understood what we were talking about in the lesson, and then finally this final formal assessment through Edmodo, asking them questions on a quiz that we got the questions from the presentation either word for word, or we changed the wording around, but the same idea was there to make sure the students understood what was being taught, and they could take that knowledge of what they got out of the presentation and use it to answer the questions that we used on Edmodo for the assessment tool.
About geometry or fractions or anything. Awesome. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Good job. Next group, why don't you get set up? You have 5 minutes.
Are we going in order now? I don't know what the order is.
Always the other way.